Police and emergency responders are the first onto scenes most of us wouldn't want to imagine. Seeing the darkest sides of human society and being witness to the weird and hilarious, to the disturbing acts of depravity which happen on the streets almost every day. Sometimes these brave men and women come across something even they aren't prepared for. From mysterious apparitions and strange beasts to UFOs. Let's take a look at some of the strange reports from police and other emergency personnel. Most police would, given long enough time in the job, tell you that they have pretty much seen it all. But what about the stranger sides of this world? Ghosts and paranormal occurrences, UFOs and even aliens. Let's begin with the paranormal and a story of demonic possession and a strange call received by an emergency call service operator one spooky night. Several years ago, this phone operator received a 911 call from a family reporting that their teenage daughter was possessed. They claimed there was no possibility of drugs or any history of mental health issues. This 911 call from the distressed family made the claim that their teenage daughter was possessed by a demon. This operator went through the checklist of possible causes, checking them off one by one. Drugs? No, check. Alcohol? No, check. Mental health issues? No, check. As this call went on, sounds of loud screaming could be heard. This yelling went on, making it difficult for the operator to hear. Asking what was happening and if the two people could stop shouting and fighting, the frightened caller then said that both voices were coming from the teenage girl. The operator, who had over 25 years experience and had heard many things, said, "I know of man's inhumanity and the horrible things people can do to each other, but this was a different kind of evil. I was clearly hearing a young girl screaming. At the same time, an adult male was yelling back. I couldn't understand either language, but they were clearly two different voices. The family swore that both voices were emanating from the girl, both at the same time. It made my skin crawl." Now I know what you're thinking. This was a phone call. Anything could have been happening on the other end of the line. So we need something with a little more proof than just screams over a telephone. Well, this next report may have it. A pair of police officers received a call over their radio requesting police respond to an alarm. The location of the incident was an old office building which had been converted to a doctor's office. These offices had a pharmacy attached, making them a target for drug addicts. The officer's dispatcher informed them that a motion signal from an upstairs office had been tripped. The police waited at the offices and went looking for signs of a broken entry. The key holder arrives on the scene and then lets them into the secure building. There was a set of stairs which were locked behind a door that the key holder didn't have the keys to, so they took the elevator up to the second floor. The elevator doors opened to reveal a pitch black hallway, with the exception of one overhead light at the end of the hall. The men began checking doors, which were all secured. They reached the last office, and sure enough, the door is unlocked. Making entry, they come upon an unused office, the door opening to a sizable waiting room and a reception area, where there were about 10 or 12 examination rooms, which the officers cleared with no problems. Leaving the office, the two policemen realized the overhead light at the end of the hallway that had been on was now off, being replaced by another light near the elevators. One of the officers turned to his partners, noticing that he had gone completely white. He asked him what was wrong, and he said, "Weren't all those doors we just checked closed and locked?" To which the other officer replied, "Yes." "Well, now they're all standing open," replied the other officer. Sure enough, all the offices down the hallway that had just been checked were now wide open. So once again they had to start clearing and securing the offices. As they finished checking with the last office and made their way out, They turned the corner to the waiting room. The main door then just slammed shut. The radios they were carrying started going nuts and sending static feedback. Again entering the elevator and heading down to the first floor to meet with the key holder. This time, however, the key holder had disappeared. Contacting dispatch and requesting a callback number for the missing key holder, dispatch stated that the key holder was still en route and was advising an ETA of 5 minutes. The pair of confused officers went on to tell dispatch that they had already met with the key holder, to which dispatch responded with a request to give them a call. Calling dispatch, they are told that there was no way they had met with the key holder. The alarm company had only just made contact with them. Eventually the real key holder arrived on the scene and was asked about the man that had let them in. Describing him to the key holder, the pair are told that it sounds like one of the doctors that used to lease an office on the second floor at the end of the hall. They are then told that he had committed suicide at his summer house several days earlier to the incident. It would seem that these men ran into something clearly paranormal and very spooky. But what about the other types of encounter we mentioned? How about a run-in with a cryptid? Taiwan's news organizations were whipped up into a frenzy with the release of a video of a strange creature with the ability to make itself translucent. A cloaked creature which may remind many of you of the Predator of movie fame. Police officer Chen Yong Huang snapped the image on his iPhone whilst he holidayed in the mountains of the region. He posted the picture to TUFOS, Taiwan's Ufology Society, where the tall, half-invisible man-mantis creature caused a big stir. The group subjected the image to a barrage of testing. Chiang Chung-ta, one of the photo experts consulted about the image, doesn't believe it has been edited in any way, pointing out the double exposure lines around the alien, indicating the phone was probably in motion when the photo was taken. This means that something was indeed standing on the mountain's ridge. No conclusive explanation for the strange creature has been offered. Guesses do range from faulty flash memory to invaders from outer space. And while on the subject of possible aliens and UFOs, we come to one of the best UFO sightings and interactions in recorded history. Dale Spohr was a sheriff at Portage County in 1966. The war hero was notable in the local community. He would jump at the chance to drive his squad car quickly around the streets of the small town and was celebrated for his lead foot. This was until April 17th, 1966, when he ended up becoming world famous for an extraordinary reason. At around 5 AM, Dale Spohr and his accomplice Deputy Neff were called to an abandoned vehicle on State Route 224, close to the residential community of Atwater. It was a rural stretch of road lined with trees. Stepping from their cruiser to investigate, Spohr spotted a strange light descending and moving out of a forest area next to the road. Hovering at tree level, the bizarre craft began to move toward them. This object had a shape of an ice cream cone, tipped over on its side, pointed at the front and bulbous at the back. It made a sound like an overstacked transformer. As the object approached the men, they could feel the warmth radiating from it. The object began to move east down the highway. Returning to their police cruiser, the men radioed dispatch for instruction. Their sergeant said that they should engage in pursuit, something Spohr was ready for. The faster the vehicle went trying to catch the object, the quicker the object pulled away. Before long they were speeding east down Route 14, the odometer edging past 100 miles per hour. Every so often they'd stop for red lights or the movement of oncoming traffic. Bizarrely, the object would however slow down and speed up, keeping a set distance between the pursuer and the pursued, a high-speed game of cat and mouse. During this lengthy chase, the two men were joined by an East Palestine cop, Wayne Houston, who followed in his own cruiser. The police radioed ahead and organised a roadblock. When they arrived at the blockade, the officers present were amazed to see the UFO, and it shot upward directly into the night sky. The case received a lot of press attention and questions from reporters from all over the world. Media organisations descended on the town quicker than any UFO could. This led to the officers being chastised by their senior officer. The stress of all the attention really weighed on Spohr, who lost 20 pounds from the worry. It's at this point when men from Project Blue Book, the military's Cold War UFO examination division, arrived. They informed everyone that what they had seen was the planet Venus refracted through the mist, and if anyone asked them, that is what they were to say. This marked a turning point for the police officer's life. Shortly after the visit, he suffered a complete breakdown. His wife left him, taking their child, and he lost his job. He was later found living in a hotel, surviving on a diet of PB&J sandwiches. Being interviewed by a reporter who had tracked him down, he said, "I'm 34 years of age, and what do I have? Nothing. Who knows me? Everybody. I'm Dale Spur, the nut who pursued a flying saucer." A number of years later, a young boy sat watching TV when he saw the tall figure of Dale Spur being interviewed. The boy's mother stepped in the room and informed the 13-year-old that the man on the television was his father. Dale was on TV talking about the incident on a program about UFOs. Eventually, father and son were reunited, and after getting reacquainted, the father told the boy what had occurred all those years ago. Life began to get back on track and would see Spore become a minor celebrity, often being seen at UFO conventions and heard on radio and TV interviews. He even went on to consult in Steven Spielberg's Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Dale Spore passed away in 1983, and a large number of people attended his funeral. It would seem the man's story resonated with many over the years, and he had a camaraderie with those fellow witnesses who were often also the focus of ridicule. If there was any definitive proof, the military took it. Spore and Neth kept a camera in the cruiser. They took dozens of photographs, but when Blue Book came to town, the G-men confiscated the negatives, and they have never been released. Have you had any strange and weird incidents? Do you know any police or emergency responders who have told you about some creepy stories? If so, I would love to hear about them in the comments below. If you enjoy what we do here on the channel, please hit that subscribe button. You can find us across social media by searching weareif. Thanks so much for watching. See you next time.